The Circus, narrated by Miss Linda. Hi, boys and girls. As you can see, Teddy came to visit me today to hear all about the circus. In this video, you are going to learn lots about the circus. Have you ever been to the big top? In a circus, the big top is a large, round tent that a circus uses for its performances. But what is a circus? A circus is made up of lots of people who travel together from town to town and sometimes country to country. Some of the people in the circus include a ringmaster, acrobats, clowns, tightrope walkers, trapeze artists, and other entertainers which give performances in the big top. But there are also circus animals such as lions, dogs, seals, monkeys, and elephants. All together, these are the characters in a circus. There have been many circuses for many years, some small and others large. Today, you are going to learn about the biggest circus. It became the biggest circus because it was made up of two circuses that got together named Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Their show began in 1871 and ended in 2017. They performed for 146 years. They were the most famous circus of all time because they were known throughout the whole world. Their joint circus became the greatest show on earth. Many countries around the world send their companies of performers to perform in the greatest show on earth. Why is it important for you to know the history of the circus? Well, because one of the 5 brothers who started the Ringling Brothers Circus before it came to be the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus lived here in Sarasota. Mr. John Ringling and his wife, Mabel Burton Ringling, built a large home on the Sarasota Bay, and their home is called the Cottazon. They also built a large museum. It's called the Ringling Museum. They also helped build many other things in the town of Sarasota, like the Ringling Bridge, and they helped build the Ringling College of Art. So now let's take a look at how it looks years ago and how a couple of other circuses look today. What you see in this picture is the Cottazon. This is the home that John and Mabel Ringling built as their home in Sarasota on the bay. Here's the big top. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, the greatest show on earth. This picture was taken 64 years ago. That's a long time ago, way before you were born. It was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1956. The big top is the giant round tent that you see. Around it, you can see tinier tents. Those little tents are used for the workers and the performers. This is where they stay, eat, work, and play while they're on the circus tour. When the circus came to a town or a city, it was a very, very big event. You can see the people lined up looking at the circus wagons coming down the road. This was like a big parade. There were so many characters and animals in the circus that they could make up a whole parade. Many people came out to welcome the circus into their town, and later they'll go and see it when the workers put up the big top. Although this picture is not very clear because it's 100 years old, you can still see how the people welcomed the circus. They still have the caravan of circus wagons and horses trailing behind, and thousands of people lining up the road on both sides to welcome the circus, because the circus didn't come around very often. So when it came to town, people were ready for their show. Not only did the animals perform under the big top in some of the performances, they also served the circus during the parades to help pull the wagons. These are camels pulling the wagons, not horses. Sometimes they used elephants too. In this picture, you can see the circus parade is still going through the town. And something else, you can also see that zebras are used to pull a wagon. Here we're seeing almost the end of the parade. The end of the parade is full of people still watching on. And the tail end of the parade are the elephants. The elephants are huge, but see how well behaved they are? They are trained by circus trainers. They never get out of line, and they don't run into the people to hurt them. When the circus started moving from town to town, all their carts were put on railroads. This railroad was actually owned by the Ringling brothers. And here you see all of their beautiful circus carts. Some of them have animals in them. Some of them were used for people, but they're beautifully decorated. All of the carts were made from wood, and they had special skilled craftsmen that did the carving of all the figures that you see on the carts. You can't see the color, but later on in the video, you'll see some of the carts and how beautifully they are decorated and painted. Also, take a look at the people. Looking at the people, you can see that their clothes is very casual, because this is no longer 100 years ago. This is a much more recent time period, and people dress much more casually today than they did 100 years ago. The circus train came all the way from Missouri. That's on the western part of the United States. They came into New York City. Here we see St. Patrick's Cathedral and people all around it, up and down the block, up and down the street, and the circus parade is on the way. A very important cart became the highlight of the circus parade when it came into town. It is known as the Bell Wagon. The Bell Wagon had bells on it that were made specially for the circus. And those bells would ring special songs. They could be church songs or the songs that were popular of the day early on when circus came to town. On the left side, you can see that the color does not come through as gold for the bells, but it's a lot simpler than it looks on the right side. And on the right side you can see a little bit more color, and you can see the bells more clearly. They're gold, and again, there's something different about the cart. That wagon is holding the bells. Look at the wheels. They're a lot more modern. That means that they were used way after a lot of repairs went into the upkeep of the bells. On the left side, you can see the wagon wheels are wood with spokes around them. And on the right side, you can see the wheels are more like car tires because they are a much later year when the wagon was repaired and used with more modern equipment to make the cart go much better in the parade. On the left side, we can see a circus worker cleaning the bells and making sure that their sound is correct. Sometimes, if it wasn't correct, the bell had to be taken down off of the wagon and fixed so that it was tuned correctly. On the right side, we can see the bells are going to be stored. They were always stored for protection against the weather in a big tent. When it was time to be in the parade, it was brought out. It was not kept in the big top. It was kept in a very special tent just for that beautiful bell wagon. Here we see the bell wagon when it was the color red. And on the right, we see the bell wagon when it was painted more of a goldish color. The reason for that is because of maintenance, fixing it up. Every few years, the bell wagon had to be restored. It had to be fixed up again and fresh paint put on it. And the wheels had to be fixed. And you can see on the right side where years later they fixed it up again, put a different color on it, and the wheels are different. They now have like a hubcap around those tires that look like a spinning top. This made the wagon much more useful. It made it prettier, and it was very important to make sure that it was in good shape to be in front of that circus parade. Here we see a wagon full of some of the people that perform in the circus. This is part of a parade of another town that the circus has come to. The important thing about this wagon is that it has a globe on the side. The reason it has a globe on the side is because the circus was known worldwide, and sometimes people from all over the world would come to perform in the circus. Some of those countries are represented by the flags that you see. And those names of the countries we'll see in another little part of the video. The wagon we're looking at now is a wagon that is at the Ringling Museum in Sarasota. Someday, when you get big, your parents or your maybe brothers, sisters, or uncles and aunts or grandparents can take you to the Ringling Museum and you can see this wagon there. Because the circus no longer goes from town to town, it is no longer performing, a lot of the wagons have been put in museums so that we know and learn the history about the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's biggest show on earth. This is another beautiful wagon that is now kept in a museum. You can tell by the color of the background for this wagon, it's green, and the front is in gold. That color is represented by all the beautiful figures that have been carved out of wood and placed on this wagon to make it look elegant and beautiful and represent the circus. When cars were invented, this little car was purchased for the circus, and it was made special to have a crate on the back to keep animals and keep them going through the parade. As you can see, there are two lions in there. There's a white, actually they're tigers, and one of them is a white tiger, which is a very rare tiger, but the other one is a yellow tiger, and they were part of the circus acts. As we continue seeing the parades of the circus coming into town, you can also see the changes that are going on the wagons that were carrying the bells. You can tell that there's been a big change by looking at the tires. The Bell Wagon was very, very heavy, and you can see how much more efficiently the Bell Wagon was brought through the parade with more efficient tires. This cart belongs to another circus named Cole Brothers, but from time to time the Cole Brothers Circus would also join the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus when they had special performers. These special performers in this cart come from Asia. Asia is one of our continents in the world. The countries in the continent of Asia include countries like China, Japan, India, Korea, Singapore, and lots of other small countries that you'll learn about one day when you're in maybe middle school or even high school. So you know that lots of people all over the world came to be part of the Ringling and Brothers Barnum and Bailey circus performers. People from Asia were some of those. This is an artist rendering of a cart made into a cage for the bears riding in the parade. This is a special cart made for a giraffe. Why do you think? Well, he has a long neck and he doesn't quite fit inside. They had to put a little shelter over his head because it was a very sunny day on the day of this parade. Here we see the wagon that was in the parade full of people. The people were actually an orchestra of instruments. That is part of their performance in the parade. The wagon has the globe in front of it, and it says Eastern Hemisphere over it. The countries that are represented with the flags on the wagon are England, France, Spain, Russia, Belgium, and Italy. Now we have another wagon. This one also represents other countries. Those countries are called the Western Hemisphere of the world. We're in the Western Hemisphere of the world, and our area of the world includes the country of Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and us, the United States. In the circus, there are lots of other things going on in the smaller tents and on the outside of the big top tent where the big performances are being performed. This wagon is a special wagon because it is advertising. That means it's letting you know that beyond this wagon there are some elephants, and children can ride on the elephants. Someday, when you go and visit the Ringling Museum, you can go and see the 1947 Circus Train. That is over 100 years old, and this is a model of the whole circus. This is just a part of it that is in this picture, but if you go to the museum, you'll see the whole circus there, made up in this little miniature size. These look like real performers, don't they? But guess what? This is part of the miniature circus that is at the Ringling Museum. This part is under the big top. This is a very good look at what you'll see under the big top. You know, the big tent? Well, this is, again, a miniature size version of the circus and the big top. Inside, you see all the performers. You can see the animals in the center, and you can see the acrobats, the trapeze artists. You can see all kinds of animals standing on their own little perching stands. You can see ducks and lots of things going on. And that's what the circus is all about. It has lots of things going on. This too is part of the miniature circus at the Ringling Museum. You can see all of the performers. This is a little bit of a different stage, but it is all together under the big top. Here again, we see another area within the big top, having another big performance with lots and lots of players. This is part of the Ringling and Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, miniature replica of the circus. If you look real close, you can see that the players are wearing some very special costumes. Those costumes represent the countries in Asia. You don't have to go to a circus to see this wagon on display. You can go to the Sarasota Bradenton Airport and take a walk and look at it. That is where it is being kept for all people to know about the Circus Hall of Fame and the wagon that is being kept there for everybody to appreciate. Watch out, the train's coming to town and is carrying the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Now you can see the rest of the train on the railroad track on its way to the next stop for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Now that the train made it into town, everything was unloaded off of the boxcars. All of the wagons are now down on the ground and parked around the big top. The big top has already been put up by the circus workers and ready for people to come and visit the performances that they'll see under the big top. What's different about these tents? They're no longer red and white stripes. That's because nothing made of cloth lasts forever. It weathers and it deteriorates. So new tents have to be put up. The Barnum and Bailey Circus put these up all in white. The big tent that you see in the background is the big top. The smaller tents and even smaller tents are all used for living things for the workers and the performers. One of the bigger tents is used for people to come in and eat there if they want to, or buy souvenirs. The other tents are used to house, meaning where the workers go to sleep and the performers go to sleep. And that's how they live when they're in the circus. When they go from town to town to town, they live where the circus is. What a beautiful sight the big top is. This is the Sarasota Circus. It is next to the Benderson Park in Sarasota, right by the University Center Mall. And it is now being set up seasonally. It's not there all year round, but it comes in and out because it too travels to different towns and cities. So this one is now set up, getting ready for performance. Now that the big top has been set up, it's ready to have people come and enjoy the circus under the big top. You can see all the people coming. The cars are parked all around, and people are hurrying to come in and see the circus. Now it's nighttime, and the circus is still putting on shows. One of the shows is performed by the great Wallendas. They are very, very famous all over the world, but they perform in Sarasota because Sarasota is actually their home. Under the big top, here we see a group of elephants, very well trained, very well behaved, and doing their performance. Here we see some other performers joining in with the elephants. This is a special performance for a well-trained elephant. See how carefully he's holding the acrobatic performer? Wow, can you believe that trainer is inside that cage with those 5 tigers? He must be a very good trainer because those tigers are behaving very well. This is what the big top looks like just before the performance. The ringmaster is walking around introducing himself and letting the audience know what they're going to see. Look how much interest there is in the circus. There are so many people there to watch all the performances. Here we are. Watch these performers. I think they're the Wallendas. The Wallendas are a circus family. They have brothers and sisters and cousins and mothers and fathers and children that all play in the circus in some way. Most of them grow up watching their parents, and then they too become performers. Would you like to learn how to walk the tightrope? It takes a lot of courage, a lot of balance, and a lot of very physically fit bodies to walk the tightrope. Wow, do you think he's going to catch her? She's flying in the air, and he's got to catch her. Don't worry, he will. In this performance, you can see that this piece of equipment is suspended by some very, very strong tethers. The performance here is for that acrobatic performer to make that piece of equipment go around. You see how she's at the top on the left side, and then she's already turned it down on the right side. These performers are at the Sailor Circus here in Sarasota. The Sailor Circus is a smaller circus, and it is located next to Sarasota High School. The nice thing about the Sailor Circus is that it is close by and anyone can go and visit it. It's not unreasonable to go in and see the Sailor Circus. This is Dolly Jacobs. She is a lifelong aerial trapeze artist. She started Circus Sarasota and promotes circus through performance throughout the world and teaching. Another thing that's really special about the Sailor Circus is that they have classes for young people that want to learn how to be performers like these little girls are learning. This is at the Sailor Circus. These little boys belong to some of the circus workers. They will be following the circus for many years with their parents, and they will learn how to train animals, just like they're doing with this little dog. Well, boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed this tour of the circus and learned a few things about circus performing. I hope one day that you'll be attending a circus and really enjoy it. Bye now.